Now, in continuing with painting sets, we talked about how there's really five main divisions or topics for painting sets. We have number sets, life story sets, lineage, incarnation, and teaching lineage. We have tantric cycle, and we have compendia, compendia texts that are converted into painting sets. And usually these are to do with tantric deities, but collections of tantric deities, not from one tantra or from one tantric cycle. That's the difference between a tantric cycle and a compendia collection, of which there are many compendias. So we've already talked about number sets and how important they are. And they really are the most common sets we're going to run into, sets such as the Buddhas of the three times, the 8 medicine Buddhas, the 3 lords of the world, the 35 confession Buddhas, the Tara removing the 8 fears, 21 Taras. So these are number sets, well known, easy to find, and very common in art. But now we're going to talk about the life story sets. Now, for life story, we can really say there's two types. Just for ease, there's 2 types. We can say there's what is common and what is other than common, more uncommon or more rare. Now, for life story, there's really 5 that are what you will typically find in a collection, a museum collection or private collection, or monastery, or even as murals in a monastery. So the first 3 of these kind of go together. The first 3 life story categories for the most common subjects you're going to find are Shakyamuni Buddha life story, then the avadana tales of Shakyamuni Buddha, of which there can be 100 or 108, and then we have the jataka stories, of which there, in the Himalayan tradition, there's usually 34. If you're in the Pali tradition, there can be several hundred different jataka tales. So this is a group, the first 3. Now these 3 are all different though. They don't merge. They're not overlapping. They're independent. The Shakyamuni Buddha is life story is its own thing. The avadana stories are their own thing because they each come out of separate texts, the different literature, and different narrative traditions and different painting traditions as well. And there can be different numbers of compositions within a set of Shakyamuni life story or avadana tales or jataka tales. So those are the first 3 that go together. They kind of go together because they're all Shakyamuni related. Now, the next is not in chronological order, but the next most common set that you'll find is Tsongkhapa, the life story of Tsongkhapa, the founder of the Gelug tradition of Tibetan Buddhism. And there are several different systems for portraying the life story of Tsongkhapa, but the most common one is in a 15 painting set. And why it has become very common is because I think in approximately the 18th century, it was carved as woodblocks. And so many copies, both on paper and cloth, were made available throughout the Himalayas, China, northern China, Mongolia. So there were many of these examples, very inexpensive and easily transported. And so there are many of these sets created. And so we have very few complete examples, but we have many miscellaneous pieces spread throughout the world. Now, the 5th most common set is actually Padmasambhava. Padmasambhava is really quite common to find, but we have to understand that it is often the compositions are created as a 9 painting set, and the central figure, aside from the main composition with the traditional form of Padmasambhava, then we have the 8 alternate forms or other forms of Padmasambhava that each represent a narrative, an important narrative from his life story, and then surrounding the central figure of these actual 9 compositions, the main form of Padmasambhava and then the 8 subsidiary forms. Surrounding these, we have the life story is told in a kind of a running sequence. These are the most common painting life story sets we're going to find. Now, in terms of other sets, we have many. We have in alphabetical order, we have the 7th Dalai Lama, we have the Jamgon Amesha, Pasaki Treason. We even have some bodhisattvas. We have Manjushri as a bodhisattva, where we can find a 5 painting set of his life story. Milarepa is also common, and that comes in a 19 painting set. Then we have the 3rd Panchen Lama. Then there's many other teachers we can find, such as Shamarpa, Wongdun Yingpo, Tongtong Gyalpo. There's many other teachers, and sometimes it can be hard to identify who these are unless there's inscriptions where we can know clearly who the story is about. Now, in terms of the Bun religion, we also have the life story of Tompa Shenrap, and we have quite a number of these sets as well. And many of these sets really do kind of piggyback or dovetail off of the Shakyamuni Buddha set, so they're very similar. So there's definitely some sharing between the painting traditions and the religious traditions in terms of copying one from the other, which is not uncommon and completely normal. So we'll leave it there with painting sets for life stories. You can press the subscribe button, you can join Horror on Patreon, and you can also make a donation on the homepage of Himalayan Art Resources.